Hi, I'm Lisa McRee with the Skinny for Everyday Health. This is a dish that takes so little effort but satisfies in a big way. Oven roasted sweet potatoes with Skinny Chipotle Yogurt sauce. It's a dish that was inspired by one I had at one of LA's groovy new vegetarian restaurants. But by making this dish at home, you don't spend the $8 for the restaurant version, and this one saves you a few calories and a bit of fat too. I'm actually using two types of sweet potatoes. These darker skin varieties are sometimes mislabeled yams, called ruby yams or garnet yams. They're actually sweet potatoes, and they're much moister and more creamy than the lighter skin types. But for this recipe, you can use both. They'll both be delicious. I know you don't think of sweet potatoes usually as a weight loss food. They're about 180 calories a cup, which is not cheap. But these homely looking little tubers are truly loaded with nutrition. There's disease-fighting beta-carotene, other antioxidants. There's a little bit of potassium. There's a little bit of protein. But most importantly, these guys are loaded with fiber, which is key to helping you stay full longer and lose weight. So my sweet potatoes were rather long, so I cut them in half after I peeled them. Then I cut them in quarters, and then cut those quarters again, so they end up with skinny wedges. And before you put them on your baking sheet, you want to give it a spray of olive oil. It's going to help coat those sweet potatoes and keep them from sticking. And by using the foil, it's going to save you a step in the cleanup, which is always great. Get them all laid out straight so they're in a single layer. And now it's time to add your seasonings, which are really, really simple. Instead of using regular salt, I'm going to use a little bit of garlic salt. It's going to add just an extra layer of flavor. Pretty generous. Onion powder. Again, another flavor that seems to go really well with sweet potatoes. And then I'm going to add a little dried herb, thyme in this case. But I have to tell you, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to play with your food. Sweet potatoes get along with all sorts of seasonings. You could swap out the thyme for a dried oregano or a dried basil, and instead of the onion powder and garlic powder, you could use smoked hot paprika, or you could use curry powder or coriander. You could use a little cayenne pepper and cinnamon and salt. I'm telling you, sweet potatoes play well with others. All right, now you're going to give them just a nice little toss with your hands. Get them all nice and coated. Your hands nice and coated too, by the way. Lay them flat again, single layer so that they'll cook evenly. Separate them if you can a little bit so that they don't steam, and instead get a nice crisp roast going on. And then I'm going to do one more little spritz of spray to help them along. And it's time to pop them in the oven. So the oven's at 425. It's going to take about 45 to 50 minutes total. I started this batch a little bit earlier. Just want to take a look. They're looking good. Going to let them go a little bit longer and go make our Skinny Chipotle Yogurt sauce. I'm going to use my immersion blender. I know you could use a giant food processor, but to me, for a little job like that, it seems like a lot of work. Even pulling it out of the cupboard seems like too much work for this little bitty job. All right, I've taken a cup of non-fat yogurt and I've drained it in a cheesecloth that's set into a colander over a bowl. That way, that excess whey can be poured out. It's just going to leave you a little bit thicker sauce in the end, which I think makes for nicer dipping. Give it a shake. Get that off. Now, what's going to add the flavor are your chipotle peppers. Now, chipotle peppers are actually jalapeno peppers that have been smoked. And they usually come packed in this really rich tomato and vinegary tomato sauce. It's very, very spicy, very distinct flavor. You only need a little. For this recipe, we're going to start with one. I'll taste and add another if I need it. Sometimes, if they're small, you can go ahead and start with two. You're going to have to adjust for your own family because you don't want to overdo it. You'll have to add more yogurt. So let's get this going and see if we need more. Now you can let this continue to puree, but I like the little flecks of the chipotle that you can still see. You know, that was a big pepper, so that's hot enough for me. But again, if they're small, sometimes I add 2. But I think that's good. Woo! That's just fine. Okay, that looks about right. Now, let me just get out a little spatula. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into my serving dish. And you know, make as much of this yogurt sauce if you want. I often double the recipe so that I can have a little bit more for the next day. I put it on eggs, all sorts of things. All right, I'm gonna set that aside and go check on our potatoes. Ah, these look perfect. Soft in the middle, little char here and there. So now when you plate these guys up, you're gonna take just a scant bit of olive oil, and I mean scant. Olive oil is good for you, but it has 120 calories a tablespoon, so a little goes a long way. But don't skip the oil. You do want a little bit, because some of the most important nutrients in sweet potatoes are fat soluble, meaning that they need to ride in on a little bit of fat for your body to even absorb them. All right, let's just move them to our platter. You know, I have these today as dippers, but you can also serve these as a side dish and just dollop the Skinny Chipotle Yogurt sauce on top. And people can eat them with a fork instead of with their fingers. They're great party food. Oven roasted sweet potatoes with Skinny Chipotle Yogurt sauce. So delicious. Check out more of my Skinny videos here on this channel and post a comment. I want to know what you think. For these recipes and more, go to skinny.us.com.